Sí, amigos, va de vuelta. Sí, desde el principio. Se logró, se logró. Bueno, tuve la oportunidad de conocerlos aquí atrás ahorita. Les tengo que presumir eso. Vamos a presentarles al talento y vamos a tratar de que esto sea una charla divertida, amena y con ritmo. En primer lugar, no puedo creer que este joven actor sea su debut en esta película. Realmente está espectacular, es un músico por naturaleza y acompáñenme a darle la bienvenida a Miles Caton, quien interpreta el personaje de Sammy. Welcome, Miles. The first seat. Espectacular esta actriz en la película Wunmi Mosaku, quien caracteriza el personaje de Annie. Welcome, Wunmi. Esta es consentida, ya acabo de decir que aquí tiene un fanbase muy grande. Ella es Hailee Steinfeld, quien caracteriza el personaje de Mary. Welcome to the stage, Hailee. Él es Michael B. Jordan. Welcome to Mexico City, Michael. Y finalmente, amigos, en este escenario, el director de la película, Ryan Coogler. First of all, guys, the movie is fantastic. It makes our job so much easier. So thank you for that. The question, the first one, is to Ryan and Michael. You guys have been this team so important for the American history of film in the last years. Could this movie can be the most challenging one until now, Sinners?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely for Michael, I would say, playing two roles and making sure that they had subtle differences, but portraying them not as clones or nothing supernatural, but just as identical twins. I think the period element of it was really interesting and challenging for both of us. Hadn't really done anything like that before.
Yeah, that was my first time kind of diving into that world, and excuse me, you've seen so many other performances, people who've played twins before, or clones or doubles or something of that nature. So just wanted to, come as, two different people. You know what I mean? Like you said, the subtle differences of it all. Sometimes you might get in your head and making sure that you're not bringing your own habits of Michael, to set each day. But, the world that Cool created and, the incredible cast that I got an opportunity to play off of, it really allowed me to be two different people. And yeah, that was definitely my most challenging role so far.
Ryan, let's go to the genesis of this film. When and where the idea came up for Sinners?
That's a great question. It was a slow developing thing when I look back over time, but we made it really quickly. The base inspiration came from my relationship with my uncle, who was from Mississippi, but moved to Oakland in his younger years. And he loved blues music. Whenever I would spend time with him, that's what he wanted to listen to on vinyl, on CD, on tape. So I came to associate that music with him. He passed away in 2015 when I was working on a film called Creed. Mm-hmm. And I never had a chance to really reckon with the loss of basically like the oldest male member of my family. So I would find myself putting that music on to remind myself of him. And one day I was listening to a particular song, and the idea kind of came to me like a lightning bolt. The song was called Wang Dang Doodle. It's a weird title, by an artist named Howlin' Wolf. And I was, once I had that idea, I was kind of on the road towards making the film.
For all I know, this is your first film shoot on film since Fruitvale Station. Is that right?
It is.
Why the decision?
Oh, it's a great question. I love film. I love shooting on celluloid. I was a member of the last class at USC to use film for class, and it always meant a lot to me. When I shot Fruitvale, we shot on Super 16, mm-hmm. and I loved it. I think it really helped the movie, the look of it and the feel of it. Since then, I made 3 studio movies where I couldn't get the ability to shoot on film. I had to shoot digital on those movies because of budget and other things. So on this one, it was very important to me since I didn't have any anybody saying that I had to go digital. You know what I mean? So I knew I wanted to shoot on film, and I actually was going to shoot on the same camera we shot Fruitvale on. I went out and bought the camera, kitted it up, but then I realized because of the VFX we would need to do the twin work, Super 16 wasn't going to work. So we were thinking about 35 millimeter. And then I got a call from an executive at Warner Brothers who asked if we were thinking about large format. And as soon as he asked the question, my mind kind of exploded, and I thought it would be the perfect format to tell this story. And we were able to shoot 276, the Ultra Panavision format, which hasn't been done since Hateful Eight on Super 70. And we also were able to shoot with our IMAX cameras, the 15 perf 70 millimeter film cameras. It was really amazing to capture that performances with those images.
I was telling my colleagues that the only way to see this movie is on the big screen.
Correct, yes.
Oh, Michael, not one, but 2 roles, brothers. Why the challenge?
Why the challenge?
And what are the main difference between them?
Oh, man. For me, you know, me and Ryan have a really special relationship, you know. Funny enough, I was pitching him a project, and he was like, "Oh, that sounds good," you know what I'm saying, you know, whatnot. But I was actually thinking about you for this project, and he kind of repitched me, you know, this movie, and it sounded a little bit more interesting to me. and you know, Ryan's always looking out for me, and kind of has this, man, he has this innate ability to kind of know what's best for people. You know what I'm saying? He kind of admires and looks at talent and knows how to put them in position to win. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the, you know what I'm saying, the player in him, the coach in him, the father in him, the husband in him. He kind of puts people in the position to win, and he thought this was going to be a big challenge for myself, but something that had great reward at the end of it if we put the right time into it and the right effort. So, you know, like we normally do, we got on the same page and we started to embark on this journey. And for me, it was just doing the work. You know, he set me up with some friends of his who are twins, and got a chance to pick their brain and ask questions and just kind of start to understand what it is to be a twin, which is super special and unique to anybody on this planet. You know, they're very, very, very unique experience. So just getting, you know, as an actor, you look for these things to latch onto so you can, you know, create the distance and the space between your own personal life and the characters that you play. And this was just, you know, the mission that was in front of me. And the major difference between the two, I would say, is, you know, Smoke's the older one. You know, I think he's you know, he's the bigger brother, but I had to be a father to Stack, which is the younger brother of the two. And yeah, man, you know, one's more the execution guy, you know what I'm saying, more the muscle, the more responsible one. And then the other brother is a little bit more of a dreamer, you know, more of a creative, more of a loose cannon in that way. And the two of them together, they make one person.
The next question is from a colleague, Joana Ramirez, de Aventuras Nerd. And I agree totally with her. Evil it's not just something external in the characters. The evil also lives inside, which make the characters very complex. Redemption and darkness are connected within each character. Can you elaborate a little bit on that, Hailee?
Wow. Well, I would say the complexity of this is one of many, many things that drew me to this. It's so grounded and so deeply rooted in these humans and their life and their past. It takes so many turns and is such a wild ride and is so incredibly captivating, but you're always drawn back to the emotion and that darkness and that fine line between darkness and redemption. And I think with those moments of darkness, there's always a flicker of light and of hope, and love for every person that's talking to that other person on that screen in that moment. But I guess generally speaking, the complexity of it is so apparent, and one of the things I love so much about this movie.
Would you like to add something?
Can you repeat the question?
The complexity of the character, you know,
Okay.
it's not just black or white. No, there's a beautiful gray in every one of them.
Yeah, I think that's what's so amazing about Ryan's writing, is that he encompasses the depth and breadth of humanity in each person and in each scenario. None of us are all one thing. We have, whether it's a spiritual enlightenment and connection, and that's juxtaposed with a grief, and an earthly grief, and a yearning, like my character and her relationship with smoke. I mean, I just think it's, you can't ever write someone as a hero or a villain. You have to, everyone has a reason, and everyone has a question that needs to be asked, and a hope. And so no one's fully good, no one's fully bad ever, in any scenario in life. And that's why Ryan is just like, when you read these scenes, you just get a whole sense of a person, a whole sense of the community, whether it's Smoke and a little girl learning how to barter, you know, you know, that's like, it's survival in this. That's a scene about survival in this environment. And then, I don't know, yeah, it's all the things, and that's why it's such a. I mean, I loved it, like reading it
in a very organic way. It makes the story more interesting, no, Ryan? Having this type of characters. Miles, I can't believe this is your first film.
Woo! Sorry, Bex.
Yeah.
Es realmente espectacular. You seem so natural to the camera and to the screen. You belong to the screen, man. I know you're an accomplished musician, of course. How it was the experience of working in Sinners?
Whew. Man, this was a life-changing experience. To work with, you know, actors at this level is just an honor. I'm extremely grateful to be in this position, and this movie is incredible. I'm glad to be a part. I'm glad that I was not only able to act, but also to be a musician and show my talent in that way, so yeah.
There's a question from Carlos Huerta from Unplug News. He wants to talk, Ryan, again about the IMAX experience. I was telling my friends that this movie, it's more like an experience, immersive experience. Is it difficult to get it made the way you made Sinners?
Every movie is difficult.
Yeah. Every movie's hard. Every movie has its own unique challenges. Working with the format, if the question is about the IMAX
Exactly,
format,
yeah, specifically.
it's incredibly challenging. You know, the cameras are very heavy, so I had to work with my cinematographer, Autumn Archipel, to develop a new style of camera work, because one of the systems that we use can't be handheld, and I normally handhold cameras a lot in my movies, so you have to rethink coverage. But it also like helps you to have a more grounded style, which works more for the period. You know, so each kind of challenge also had like an inherent blessing to it. You know, you have to be more focused, more disciplined, and also because it was the first time for everybody working with these types of cameras, people were more focused. You know what I mean? You could hear the film going through the cameras. You could see people reloading it. If you heard the AC say, "Hey man, we got one more take on this," you know, I would see the actors hear that and they would focus up even more. Like I gotta nail it, you know. And it developed a really interesting shared adrenaline, You know, that actually reminded me of playing sports, which was quite nice for me because that's what I was doing before I learned how to make movies. But in terms of the immersive nature of the experience, absolutely, man. Like we our company took one of our first retreats while we were working on a movie called Judas and the Black Messiah in Cleveland. And Cleveland is where they have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know, it's a whole building and a tourist attraction. But one of the things that you can do in there is you go in and you watch a movie, and they'll play you clips from Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees. But the screening room makes it feel like you're at a concert. It's like a completely immersive experience. They got like bass hidden under the seats, and it's incredible. And I remember saying, like, I would love to make a film that feels like that. I had no idea I would ever make this movie, you know. But I found myself thinking about it, like when we were filming and when we were in post production. And I think that, you know, because there's so many things available for folks to watch, you know, and I see people holding up their phones, you know, you can watch anything there, and so much interesting filmmaking happening. You know, when you make a movie, you want it to be a reason to get out and go get your popcorn, you know, hire a babysitter. And this movie for me was an absolute, it was a pleasure to be able to make something that delivers on all of those categories, you know, so it was very intentional.
It delivers, huh? It shows on the screen. I was telling Hailee backstage that she has a big fandom here in Mexico City because of Dickinson. And your character, Mary, it's such an intriguing one. It's like she started a lot of things, you know what I mean, the story. She's this powerhouse. You know. How can you describe her? And what challenge did you find specifically in this role?
Ooh. Well, I feel like this role came into my life at the perfect moment. I was craving a character that would challenge me in so many ways, and a story, no less. But I think the most challenging part of playing Mary was to step into her world meant confronting parts of me that I like to keep protected. And the level of vulnerability and confidence that this character has at the same time was so unique and so challenging to understand and then do justice. It was written perfectly on the page. It was just a matter of figuring out what the heck I had to do to bring it to life. And I was able to do that because of these people right here and Ryan. I've never felt so connected to a character and connected to a story and connected to the characters around me. And I think that's such a testament of the space that Ryan created, and Ryan and Michael, to walk into set and feel like you are taking on something that is quite daunting. This role was so exciting to me because it was so nerve-wracking in a sense. But I felt at peace every time I walked on set. I felt like if I didn't quite know exactly what I was doing, I knew I was going to figure it out, and I had the support of the people around me to get there. So as challenging as it was, I felt like it was so incredibly rewarding, and I'm so grateful to this character for pushing me outside of my comfort zone, and I'm just so grateful to be playing that character in this big, huge story. It's an honor, really.
Irving Torres from Cine NT also wants to ask you, Hailee, do you think this role is a before and after in your career, a departure in some way?
A what, sorry?
A before and after, this role. It was a departure in your filmography, you know, in your decisions of roles.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, like I said, I'm drawn to characters that push me. Don't know that this was a role I could have played at any sooner part in my life or career, but it felt like a very natural evolution. And I pray each and every night that this is the thing that opens the door that I've been so eager to walk through.
Wunmi and Miles, your characters brings this beautiful tradition and music to the story. No, do you agree with me? It's like taking like a piece of time, you know, and bring it together for the new generations. That's my own perception of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think the blues is definitely a genre that it might not be as popular today, but I think with this film, it will definitely, just like open the eyes and ears to my generation to, the sound. And blues is bred so many other different genres. So I think, this film will definitely allow people to, experience that.
Wunmi?
Yeah, my character says at the beginning about the people who have this gift to pierce the veil between life and death and connect the past and the future. And I guess she has the wisdom of that, of what music can do. And yeah, I think she has another connection to like the motherland and like the traditional Yoruba, Ifa, hoodoo, traditional medicine and traditional wisdoms, which I love how that's so present and prevalent in New Orleans still. So yeah, that kind of that the time is not linear with traditional with music, with the traditions that it spans and expands and is reverberated through, till now, and everything that is will be and will continue, whether it's blues and its progression, whether it's religious, spiritual, everything that was, is, and will continue. I love that.
Miles, how much of your input as a musician is in the movie? Do you have the chance to propose in some way in this matter?
Yeah. I am, grateful to have this opportunity. I was able to, put my own spin on the vocals and, the soundtrack as well. And just to be able to, submerge myself into the New Orleans and the sound and the culture, it was incredible.
This question is from Francisco Javier Quintanar from La Crónica. Michael B. Jordan. The music, it's the Southern atmosphere. It's a prelude to something that we are going to see in the story. How much the music helped you in this case to create your characters?
Oh, big time. Just kind of understanding, where the story kind of was created from, Ryan's relationship, with his family, and his uncle, and how music played such a huge part. And through Ryan, I got a chance to actually understand, how much the blues had an influence on the music that I like today, So I kind of got an education a little bit of how music influenced and inspired so many different genres, and for the character, I listened to, a bunch of blues music to kind of, get my brain wrapped around what Smoke and Stack would have been listening to at that time, the type of music that they were probably told not to listen to, the places that they were told not to go into. And yeah, music played a huge part in getting ready for one character, and then having to go back to the trailer and change wardrobe and change mentality and change the way I hold my body and the way I think and play music that got me more into the mindset of one of the other brothers. And you really, I think I've always really felt this way, but it never really been articulated or presented to me in a way for me to acknowledge what it is. But, music, when we listen to it, it's not casting spells, not it's hypnotizing. It's you're hearing, rhythms and beats, and you're listening to words over and over and over again. So you can get into a trance, like you get into the zone, you get into a flow state, and music played a big part of that for me to go back and forth between the twins.
Ryan, I can have an idea, a hint, but I want to hear from you. Why blues? Why did you choose this genre specifically?
It was because of my uncle and his introduction to it. But as I started to study it and research it, you know, it became clear to me that, you know, you can argue that blues music is America's most important contribution to global culture and global popular culture. You know, it just the way that it took off and permeated everything and became rock and roll and went to Europe and transformed music there and you know and realizing that the people who were making it, the very act of making it was just affirming their humanity, you know, at a time when that was being denied. So to me that was just incredible, and knowing that, you know, what blues is in 1932 is not what it is today. It's actually closer to, you know, what we would call hip hop music today. You know, these dudes that were making these blues records, they were basically like the first gangster rappers. You know what I mean? And that to me was like astonishing. And then something else that happened, because I was preparing like mixtapes for Mike and you know, Ludwig Göransson's our composer. He's not here, but he had a massive contribution to the film. But one thing that I realized was music is also like an incredible tool for communication between artists. So these, you know, these characters that had these different relationships, they had their own songs, you know, for their relationships that we would play when doing scene work, and then we would play again when it was time to shoot, and it would help them get into the mold and the mentality of these characters. But a lot of those songs were written like, you know, the songs might have been written in the 90s, you know what I mean? But somehow it cuts right to where these people who were alive during the 30s, where they were mentally. You know, it's really just like evidence of the immortality of humanity and the human condition, you know?
Se nos acabó el tiempo. The next question, I want to hear the answer from each one of you. Sinners is a film that blends history, myth, and a deep emotional journey. If there is one thing you hope audiences take away from this experience, what will it be? Can we start with Miles?
One takeaway, I would say that honestly it would be just to, I think the film, it has a great way of, you know, just allowing everybody to take different things from the film. Like there's a lot of, you know, different meanings and different you know, things going on in the film. So just to be able to kind of take your own, you know, take from it.
Wunmi?
I feel like I would want people to think about who they invite in, because ultimately the people you share with can take, they can give, they can steal. You know, who do you allow into your safe space and to like really cherish what you have? Yeah, cherish what you have and be wary of the vampires.
Hailee?
One thing to take away, you're gonna need to see it twice or 10 times. I agree so much with what these two said. I think to sort of go off of what Miles was saying, this film does have an incredible way of absolutely just captivating you. I'd encourage you to just go and be as present as you possibly can be and let this movie take you on the ride that it is. You will walk away with multiple feelings and thoughts, and there's a lot of conversation starters in this movie. But overall, it's it's a fun time. So enjoy it and be open to everything it has to offer.
Yeah. Michael.
Oh, man, it's such a tough question. You know, a little bit of everything that they said, you know, at the same time, this thing that kept coming back to me as I was thinking just now is like family, right? You know, everybody has a version of family, you know, whether it's the ones you were born into, the ones that you chose, the family you were given, you know, and how far will you go to protect that? You know, I think everybody, you know, cares about somebody in their family, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to make sure those people are safe. And I think this movie, you know, outside of all the other things that it is and what it says, and you know, I think this element of family just kind of rises to the top for me. So I think that's what I want people to take away.
Finally, Ryan.
I think and this film is everything to me. You know, I've never loved a movie like this one. Never loved a cast like this one or a crew. And what I think what I think people feel when they watch the movie, and I hope they feel, is that our love for each other. It's a line the character says in the movie. He says, "Fellowship and love." It's not the character you would expect to say that, but I think that the power for us to self-determine and affirm our humanity is at its height when it's in community with people who care about you.
I think it's a very entertaining film, but it also has a lot of important ideas, ¿no? On the table. La tienen que ver a partir del 17 de abril y en una sala cinematográfica para que entiendan todo lo que estamos hablando en esta tarde aquí en este escenario. Guys, thank you so much for your talent, your grace, your beauty. Thank you for being here in Mexico City. Acompáñenme a darles un fuerte aplauso al equipo creativo detrás de Pecadores. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.